From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, October the 29th, 2024. 4 Israeli soldiers were killed during fighting against terror group Hamas in Gaza today. They are 22-year-old Captain Yehonatan Johnny Karen, 20-year-old Staff Sergeant Nisim Meital, 21-year-old Staff Sergeant Aviv Gilboa, and 22-year-old Staff Sergeant Naor Chaimov. And the IDF said that 25-year-old Major Guy Yaakov Nezri, who was critically injured during fighting in the Gaza Strip earlier this month, died of those injuries today. Meanwhile, rockets launched by terror group Hezbollah from Lebanon continue to bombard northern Israel today. Some were intercepted, but some did make impact, including several rockets that struck the Jewish Arab city of Ma'alot Tarshiha, killing 24-year-old Muhammad Naim. Dozens of rockets were also fired at the coastal city of Ashkelon today, as well as drones, including one drone reportedly launched by the Houthis in Yemen, which fell in an open area in Ashkelon. The IDF continues its battle against Hezbollah, eliminating terrorists and destroying terrorist infrastructure, including, it shared today, that it uncovered and dismantled a Hezbollah bunker in southern Lebanon, a command center that contained, the IDF said, 1/2 ton of explosives. IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi toured the structure, saying, "We have been saying for years that Hezbollah is preparing the area of the border for war." To the countries that doubted it, to the UN, to the UNIFIL force that was stationed up here, we caught this in time before it was too late. And this infrastructure must not return here in future generations. Israel's Knesset last night approved 2 bills essentially barring UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees, from operating in Israel. This follows years of issues with the UN body, and in particular, the fact that several UNRWA employees took part in the October 7th Hamas massacre. Director of Digital Diplomacy for Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, David Saranga, noted that Israel has consistently warned about the extensive infiltration of Hamas into UNRWA and the abuse of UNRWA's staff and facilities to advance terrorist activity against Israel. Saranga wrote, "Israel remains committed to its obligations under international law. In this respect, Israel is dedicated to expand humanitarian assistance to the residents of the Gaza Strip through international organizations and NGOs, non-governmental organizations, that are not involved in terrorism." Saranga naming partners such as the World Food Pantry, UNICEF, and the World Health Organization. The legislation passed by Israel has garnered great concern from a number of countries, including the United States. And just before the approval in the Knesset last night, U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said that UNRWA plays an irreplaceable role right now in Gaza, where they're on the front lines of getting humanitarian assistance to the people that need it. He said there's nobody that can replace them right now in the middle of the crisis. Miller saying, "We continue to urge the government of Israel to pause the implementation of this legislation. We urge them not to pass it at all, and we will consider next steps based on what happens in the days ahead." A man was charged with attempted murder after he allegedly shot an Orthodox Jew on his way to synagogue Saturday morning. The JTA reports the 39-year-old victim was shot from behind and hit in the shoulder. He was taken to the hospital and released later on Saturday afternoon. The shooter, who also exchanged fire with law enforcement and paramedics after they arrived at the scene, was shot by police and was in critical condition taken to the hospital. He was charged with 14 felony counts, though not charged at this point with a hate crime, as the motive for the incident is still under investigation. Well, this past Sunday, October the 27th, marked the 6th anniversary of the Tree of Life synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where 11 worshipers were murdered in the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history. Both President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris released statements on the anniversary, President Biden noting it falls just days after Jews observe the sacred holiday of Simchat Torah and the first Hebrew calendar anniversary of the October 7th attack in Israel, during which Hamas killed more than 1,200 people, took another 250 hostage, and committed horrific acts of sexual assault. 1 year later, the president said, the trauma and losses from that day and its aftermath are not only raw, but exacerbated by the appalling surge of anti-Semitism against Jews in America and around the world, vowing my administration will continue to condemn and combat anti-Semitism at every turn. Vice President Harris also noted the 1 year anniversary of the Hamas massacre and also vowed to work to ensure, she said, the safety and security of Jewish people in the United States and around the world, and will always call out anti-Semitism whenever and wherever we see it. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, October the 29th. At 7 o'clock, ISGAP Executive Director Charles Asher Small examines how academic institutions have become platforms for spreading undemocratic ideologies and anti-Semitic narratives through the influence of soft power. At 8, Justin Pines speaks with Abigail Pogrebin and Rabbi Linzer to discuss their new book, It Takes Two to Torah. At 9, Shlomo Riskin and Kenneth are on L'chaim. At 10:30, an encore of the news. And coming up next, the ILTV's Insider. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, October the 29th, 2024. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.